hedge fund made $700 million off the trade. There you go. And automakers around the world are scrambling to find computer chips. Ford, GM reducing production. One auto industry expert says part of the problem is that other industries that saw a lot of activity during the pandemic used a lot of chips. And now the auto industry is trying, in vain, to catch up after a dip in its production in 2020. NTD's Patrick Hayden reports.
Ford says it's reducing the production of its best-selling model, the F-150, because of the global chip shortage. Auto industry expert Paul Eisenstein says it seems to be getting worse. One reason is that the auto industry is trying to recover from all of the shutdowns from last year.
While the factories were down, consumer electronics plants were actually ramping up to full speed in many cases, in many situations, because they were providing all the gear that people needed to work and shop at home during the pandemic.
General Motors is also affected. It will shut down some of its plants next week. And it's the same in other countries. He says cars are like computers on wheels, having as many as 150 to even 200 microprocessors in each vehicle.
They operate everything from the powertrain, the engine and transmission, to the infotainment system, all that high-tech safety gear that you have. And the problem is you only need to have a shortage of one or two of those parts, and they can shut down an entire assembly plant.
China, the world's biggest car producer, is expected to be hit the hardest.
This is going to affect every market, whether you're talking about Europe, North America, Japan, or China. And of course, China, being the world's largest producer of automotive products, motor vehicles, is going to be hit hard. How hard? Nobody really knows. Worldwide, you're probably going to see 1 million or more units impacted and possibly lost just during the first quarter.
He says the chip shortage couldn't have happened at a worse time.
Things were starting to look better than many people expected going into 2021. But now, with these shortages developing and more manufacturers having to close factories or cut production levels, this could turn a very good year into another very bad one.
He says he doubts any automakers are in a position to feel completely secure about what's ahead in 2021. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
Maybe Samsung can help. It's considering Austin, Texas for a new multi-billion-dollar chip plant. It says it'll create local jobs, but it wants tax breaks from the local government. Julian Satterwith reports.
Samsung Electronics is eyeing Austin, Texas as the possible site for a new $17 billion chip plant. That is according to documents filed with Texas state officials. The South Korean giant says the deal could create around 1,800 jobs, but it may hang on what kind of incentives are on offer. Samsung is seeking combined tax abatements of more than $800 million over 20 years from Austin and Travis County. If the Texas site is selected, Samsung says it will break ground in the second quarter and have the plant operational by late 2023. The firm says it's also looking at alternative sites in Arizona and New York states, as well as at home in South Korea. It's potentially a big win for US chip making. While Intel does make some semiconductors there, most of the contract manufacturers that make chips for other companies, including Samsung, are based in Asia. Last year, Samsung rival TSMC disclosed plans for a $12 billion chip plant in Arizona, due to come online in 2024.
And Google has launched a news site in Australia featuring content it actually paid for. It's trying to persuade the Australian officials to drop